Hi, I'm Brendan Blaber. I'm the creator and director of Epithet Erased.
I'm Natalie Van Sistine, and I'm the sound designer.
Yeah, and this is the commentary for episode 6.
I love Kyle's little yell.
Oh my god.
There was, I think, a point where after I'd watched it so many times, sometimes I just end up parroting certain things as I hit it, and I know that's got to be one of them.
Yeah, there were a bunch of those. Whenever I was editing, I would always end up parroting the same line over and over again, or like breaking into a song. So the first time I was doing animation tests to see what the show should look like with Molly at the very start of episode 1, I would just start mumbling, because she's just like, "Hello, I'm lost," and I think I ended up singing "You're Lost, Little Girl" by The Doors for like 4 hours while I did that. Boom. Fun fact, I'd like to punch myself as a graphic designer for making the logo completely impossible to work with in any scenario because it has no geometric edges around it. It's like a weird, jaggedy Tetris block.
You've damaged the establishment's door. I hope you intend to repair that.
I remember going through this episode, and usually after sending off first pass to Kieran to place some of the repetitive sound effects, I'd go through and do a spotting session for everything else. And this one, I watched the number of cues ticking up as I went, and I was just like, God damn it. I think this one came out to at least 400, and like episode 5 and everything before that never cleared 300. But this one and 7 were the worst.
A lot of people, this was the one, like, this was the episode after 1. People were like, I don't know about this one, because it has the opposite structure of most of the episodes, where most of the episodes have, like, kind of a slow, talky opening, and then, like, an action-y, or, like, here's the forward momentum in the second half. And this one's the reverse, which in the future I'll keep in mind. But, I think it works really, really well if you watch 5, 6, and 7 in one sitting. But if you watch 6 by itself, it's a weird episode. But, this fight, this whole, like, 12-minute tavern fight, I think might be my favorite part of the whole show.
It's really fun. Honestly, I remember before I started working on it, I went and listened to the dialogue mix, because I had mixed dialogue for 1 through 4, and then handed it over to Alyssa. And so it was the first time I heard this one. I was like, how is this one gonna work? Because just audio, I was like, I don't get this one. I'm like,
Me neither.
I was like, I'm worried about this one. And then I saw the visuals and I was like, oh, this is great. And it grew on me tremendously after
It was
that.
I got a lot of really validating moments writing this, because I'm a very visual writer. Like, and I, like, also, because I'm an artist by trade, and whenever I would do like maps or background designs, I've gotten questions like, how do you like figure out what to like make it look like? And I was like, I don't know. The second it's thought up, the whole structure is thought up completely. So while I'm writing it, I'm like, yeah, I know what this is gonna look like, and it's so hard to like pitch to other people what it's gonna look like. I'm like, I think it's gonna work. I don't know. And then at the end, when it's like, okay, yeah, that fight actually turned out looking really funny and interesting. I was like, okay, good. Because I thought it might, but you don't actually know.
On guard!
I got this track commissioned specifically for this episode. This guy's voiced by Jordan Dash Cruz, who is fucking hysterical.
God, love it.
Don't worry, his bullets are useless so long as my magnetic field stays up.
Oh, this ain't buckshot. It's the house special. Spell 'em up, Sue.
And this was drawn by Civ, who is a very good friend of mine. She voices Trixie, and also did the art for the credits in this half of the show.
Look out, he's got soap!
My.
Oh, that's right, because the art in the credits, wasn't that what you used for the audition sides, too?
Yeah, she did those too.
Yeah, I remember, like, auditioning for it and seeing that art, and then when we saw the final art, I was like, that's the same show?
Because originally what I thought was going to happen, I was told I was going to get the green light for the contract the next week, and I wanted to start, so I went, Civ, I need art right now! And then we ended up sitting in contract hell for like 3 months, so I felt really bad about that.
No, it's good.
I love the delivery on, that's Caleb again, he's like so many bonsai blasters of, that's the boss's special move! There's an even more intense one where he sounds like a crowing rooster.
Stomach like a hippo. Not bad.
I love Bugs.
There's like this great like low boing sound that
Yeah.
like, everything went perfectly with for him. I love it. Yeah, you can hear like the boing.
I love this. I love this episode so much. This is like the exact right energy of like stupid farcical battle with like dumb powers on all sides. I
Yeah.
love Arnold's powers. They're so stupid.
Arnold's great. I was trying to explain him, like, while I was working on it, I was trying to explain his character, and I just started referring to him as the coupon gremlin. And then when the friend finally watched the show, they're like, yeah, that's exactly what he is.
He has like 3 of my favorite lines in the entire series in this episode. That's me and Emily again. God, and that's Caleb again. We really, one Wallace session was absolutely not enough. We needed at least 2.
What are you doing?
It was a very interesting challenge trying to like fit the music to this entire fight and not have it be samey.
Acrobatic maneuver.
Because like on one hand I plop down just the endless banjo theme, like that works, but
God, jeez.
God, I love Ramsey's reaction to this. I think is just the perfect audience proxy too. Just the number of times you're just like, "What? No, what?"
that's my favorite part of Ramsey is that if you have like the straight-laced cop and the weird ratty criminal, you expect the cop to be the straight man, but she is not at all.
Which is great.
Him at Bugsy's belly like he's trying to pop a big ugly balloon.
This one was the most fun to record Foley for because there was so much stuff I actually had the props in the booth for. So I had a box of crayons. I had to go out and buy
I
a
saw
box
you
of crayons.
tweeted it. It was like, here's my props for this week. And I was like, I know what that's for.
Well, I was in jail for forging.
I kept, anytime someone did like a weird Percy freak out, like, the crayons of debauchery, I kept having to go like, more.
Childlike innocence.
Okay.
Arnold! Right!
I just love this flap.
He's still moving.
This is my favorite part.
Moving.
Unfortunately for you, I've exchanged your attack for one of equal or lesser value.
It's so great.
He's consumed the debauchery!
Like, putting this against episode 1 is like a world and a half of difference.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
Something. Hey, you! You got any other tricks up your sleeve?
I used to be a government experiment.
That's also from the original one.
I love it. Oh God. And the ducks too. When I hit this spot, when I was spotting the session for the first time, I think I just put the marker in all caps, just and ducks apparently.
Have you seen the caption for that segment? It's just the sound of rubber ducks being vomiting rubber ducks, and then it goes on so long that I switch it in the middle to, just your standard sound for vomiting rubber ducks.
Fun fact: those were dryer balls. I had to take them to my apartment. I was throwing dryer balls on the floor for 20 minutes. It was great.
Oh my god, that shot in particular took a lot of extra iterations.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, also am I having an aneurysm? I think that just became
That was the benchmark for the project.
Oh, and I love the gloopy sound of the soup dripping on that one. I love that.
My favorite part of this fight is I write fights stream of consciousness, so I did not go into this like, oh yeah, Giovanni's there, soup. What happened is I wrote that bit where he's like, I'm firing alphabet soup, and I wrote all these soup jokes, and then later I was like, wait, Giovanni's alphabet soup, and I was so happy because I'd given myself this this exit, and then later on, when Gora walks in, he's just like, oh boy, I can finally learn how to spell with these soup letters. That was a line I wrote at 4 a.m, and I was like, I'm not keeping this. And I woke up and I was like, what is this? It's like, yeah, I'm keeping it.
Follow me, Giovanni Potage!
So, Giovanni Potage is your name. Duly noted.
What? No, that's my, stage name.
Kyle noises.
Oh.
You think you can just shoplift my minions? I'll show you. He pulls out his wallet and begins flipping through coupons like a soccer mom.
You stop that.
Oh, my coupons!
The only sale going on here is 2 losers for
Yeah,
the prize.
boarding this entire fight sequence was really difficult because this tavern was so, it's in perspective, which most of the other backgrounds aren't, and trying to be like, I have to. A lot of the times it cuts to map is so that we can sneakily rearrange the props and stuff before zooming back in. and vice versa.
Here you go, Sheriff. One bag of alphabet soup. Hold the soup.
And I think that bag was, I had gotten Chipotle one night and had like chips. And after I got done eating the chips, I was like, wait, I need a bag for this. So I just ran into the booth and recorded it.
I was really surprised because in my head, Goro's a much more important character. He was also one of the main characters in the original story. It was him, Percy.
Oh, wow.
No, he was a party member. They came to the town and recruited him, basically. But I was like, no, there's no reason to do that. But he has less lines than Car Crash does.
Right. Get out from under those tables, you cowards!
Those three, that trio of Bonsai Girls, are based on the Heathers musical titular characters.
I'm in! But only if 4 of you attack at the same time.
Ramsey just casually
This is the best line in the show.
turns his coupons into gold.
What? No! My coupons! You can't scan the barcode if it's gold! Now they're worthless!
Originally,
You almost feel bad for him because he's so good.
yeah. Originally, Bugsy had this ability to, like, when he's in a ball, like, rev up like Sonic and spin dash away, but
God.
I didn't want to animate that, so I just cut it. That's why Percy specifically says, now, where did your friend roll off to?
Honestly, that just sounds like something she would say.
Yeah. Smug little smile. God, I love this. This whole scene is, like, really good.
I ain't gonna sell it out.
Oh, that's a real shame. Because if you do, I bet this bar has...
Fun fact about Arnold's VA. So most of these characters in this season are not based on anyone specific. The bartender's an exception. He's just Old Man McGucket from Gravity Falls, just straight up.
I love how he just slaps him.
I really wanted to like find a way to animate that and make it sound like slapping a jukebox to get it to like work right, but I couldn't get the animation right.
What do you think? Pretty good deal, huh?
Yeah, the arcade machine that doesn't work is specifically me being infuriated by every like deer hunting machine that has ever existed, because they all cost like $1. And even if they do work, I'm pretty sure they're just like, you didn't hit anything, that'll be another $1. And that was just my entire childhood being dragged to places in Wisconsin, and then like my parents drinking with my uncles and aunts and being like, here, play the game. It's like, there's no games. It's that and a claw machine, and both of those are terrible options.
I think that must be like a Midwest thing because that totally reminds me of going to like bars with my grandparents in like northwestern Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
I
the
wonder...
same, yeah. Like
Same
an hour
vibe.
out, for like 2 hours from Chicago is
Same energy.
yeah. I would say like 2.5 hours beyond that is the like, that's just the South now.
Epithet Erased. The ghost of my hat haunts me still. How did you manage to...
I love Howdy Morning, the bartender. He's so funny.
He's great.
I was gone. I don't know, man.
Man, I love Car Crash.
Car Crash is really likable.
I figured you were one of the bit parts, and I genuinely thought that was you for the longest time. And then I was like, wait a second, that's not.
Nope.
Okay, first of all, I am like 80% sure you have astigmatism or something, and you should really get that checked out. I worry about you.
He's so cute.
knows my name.
I really want, if we get a season 2, because Giovanni is like a fugitive now and can't go home, I want an excuse. I want him to be like using his home base as like Crusher's backyard, just so Crusher can walk in and like have an obvious crush on him and be like, here, I got you some cookies.
Oh, I love it. They're good boys.
You got it, buddy. Maybe you can help a girl out. I'm looking for a necklace.
Train station.
Zora's theme is also one that was pretty easy to rip apart and like restructure for however I needed it to match the visuals. There's a direct correlation between how much I like different musical tracks and how easy it was to be like, all right, I need to pause here.
Whoa, you all right?
Apologies. I know time is of the essence, but I
think this is one of the first episodes where there started being a lot more footsteps, and I hated every second of it.
Oops.
I think this episode took me about 6 or 7 hours just to do footsteps, and that was, if captioning was your least favorite part, footsteps was mine.
Yeah, 6 or 7 hours is about how long captioning took. We got episode 7 done and like turned in pretty much 40 minutes before like it was uploaded. It was really close.
Yeah, this one was, oh god.
This one was really bad too.
Yeah, I'm looking at the freaking pine cones, and I remember for some reason I was having an aneurysm working on this episode because I couldn't think of the word pine cone, and my brain was stuck on crouton for some reason. And I finally remembered pine cone. I was like, okay, good, pine cone. I can look up, pine cones for sound effects. And then I go back to my spotting notes, and 2 days later I find that I had marked something like, put coconut sound here. And I was like, what was I doing?
There's a couple times where I have like remnants of things I wrote at like 5 a.m. On the YouTube version of, I think it's episode 3 or 4, there was this day where we had to have Danny come back in so she could do the like go by Verve plugs, and I did not write them beforehand, and I was like so dead. It was one of the deadest times I'd ever been in the project, and I like scrumbled into the studio, and Emily's like, hey, and I'm like, bleh. And Danny texts me and she's like, I'm gonna be a little late, and I was like, that's fine. And I'm sitting there unable to type anything. I was like, I don't know, it doesn't matter, who cares, this project is a failure, whatever. And I wrote down just I wrote like 5 different versions of like, hey, me again, Molly in the void, give me your parents' credit card number. I was like, I'm gonna use that. This is Anthony, who plays Indus as the well watcher.
Right in Redwood Run.
He's great.
Yeah, there's $1 at the bottom of the well.
There's actually a fan animation with the original version of that scene. Like someone took the audio and did an animatic. And it's also called All's Well That Ends Well. That's why I named the episode after it.
Looks like there's an open spot for well watcher. Guess I've been promoted.
I love that lightning sound effect so much, and I was so glad I got to use it. Oh, I just noticed the don't stop in the background, and it just reminds me of where I used to live in South Carolina, and all of the just completely violated stop signs that would be rewritten or something. Yeah, you definitely got captured hick.
Yeah, I was going for like what it feels like to drive through the area of Wisconsin where they stopped naming counties anymore, and it's just like County A, County WW, like it's all.
Oh yeah. No. This is way more like Kentucky. I think.
You keep saying stuff like that. You know,
Originally, the version of this episode, because I wanted to like pepper in that sort of Lexism stuff in case we got another season where it becomes kind of the main like the through line of the series, other than crime. But it was. I'm gonna go ahead and call it preachy in the original version, even though it's like a fantasy thing. Like Percy was way more racist is too strong, but she was way more like cluelessly insensitive, and like characters basically stopped one step short of turning towards the camera and being like, you should be nicer, racism's bad. There was a set of takes, I think they're in this episode, that Percy had where it's like, no, Howie is a Mundy or something, where she's got like kind of like a bitter, grudging respect for him, and Emily and I called those the racism takes, because it would be like, no, Howie's a Mundy, no, Howie's a Mundy, no, Howie's a Mundy. We're like, why, Percy, why are you so racist? But then we were putting them all in and plugging them into the episode. It's like, none of these takes are working. Make it more racist.
Also, this scene, looking at the audio track for Howie's hammering in the background was just ridiculous, because it was just like a solid wall of like the same effect looped over and over again. And it had to be individually placed too for every single impact.
You know this guy?
Indeed.
I love the cartoon video game world version of building something where you smack it with the same tool over and over again, and it just slowly assembles like a Lego set.
Applying for the same positions. He's one of the best.
Have to be if you want to stay alive in this business. If someone else
It's fun because my buddy Will's voice, who plays Ramsey, is so naturally like Ramsey's one of his higher voices, and it's really interesting having someone with a deeper voice than him in a scene with him.
like the building he's assembling is
The worker bees are voiced by the same Walla group, and we brought them in for Bonsai Blasters and Children, so they were like younger voices, and we're like, God, we could barely get the cops out. What do we do for this? And it's just like, instead of making them construction workers, like we tried it and they were like, oh, construction. And we're like, nope. Try going like, no, that's her voice. She's like, yeah, we're worker bees, yeah. And I was like, yeah, whatever. That's funny.
Hear me? I said don't move.
I ain't involved here.
So like I said, these three are based off of the Heathers from the Heather musical. And I don't remember who I was talking to when I decided this, but I like to imagine all of them are named Jennifer. And they go by Jen, Jenny, and Niffer.
I don't know why that tickles me, but that's amazing. Oh, also their little pea shooters. I was so mad because when I moved, I Marie Kondo'd my Nerf gun, and I needed some like cheap plastic gun walla. So we have a prop from Galaxy Express 99 or 999 or I forget exactly how you say it, out in the display case in the front of the building, and I was like, hey Amber, could I use this for gun foley? And she's like, yeah, it's fine, it's cool. So it's the main character whose name I'm spacing. Emily plays him. It's his gun.
Big mouth boy.
Big mouth boy.
We messed up and put the water back in the well for this scene. I had to manually go in and paint that out the first time.
Oof.
This scene took so much Frankensteining between different editors. 3 different people worked on this. It's a big pain. By this point in the show, the editors who were like kind of cool flying by their pants, like flying by the seat of their pants with no storyboards, were like getting really burnt and could no longer do it. So Oots ended up doing both the Howie scene and this scene with no storyboards, and that was a bad decision.
God, I love Zora's epithet is still like one of my favorite sound effects I think we came up with, though. Like I love the like haunted sound beneath it is literally called haunted cowbell, which worked perfectly. And then
this is me and Emily again.
Yeah, the ticking sound is like a clock, but to try to get the right amount of like speed up and slow down, I actually found someone had taken like a spinning bowl and then added a lot of reverb and some EQ to it, and then reversed it. And then I synchronized all the ticking to the wub 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 wub,
cool.
and that's how it ended up working. I love the final effect.
Yeah, Zora's all of her abilities. I sure wrote them as they were in the original version, and like God, what a pain in the ass for every single like the tree, the rock. Anything, all of them were a huge pain.
Oh, and everyone was so disturbed when we put the baby crying in, too.
It works really well. It's really gross and uncomfy.
Yeah, Alyssa, when she mixed that, I didn't have all the sound effects in place, and so she came back to do a pass on that to make sure we hit all the ending notes, and she's like, oh no, this is way worse now.
Yeah. I think here's my official apology to Emily, because whenever in the cast segment, there's so many bit parts in this episode. Whenever I didn't have enough room and would otherwise have to like recreate something, I would just cut my and Emily bit parts and just be like, sorry. I got them all in the ending because she was like, don't do that. Understandably.
Would you hear a whisper? Could it be the Phantom Drifter? There's a chance you went and missed
God,
it.
Howdy Morning, I'm just seeing his portrait for like the first time. I don't know why it's like the first time it's registered, and that is also disturbing.
Yeah, he's very scary.